So here's what we're going to talk about today. Self-discipline. Self-discipline. What is self-discipline? How to develop self-discipline and the benefits of self-discipline, all that jazz. Okay, so let me ask you this. Give me an example of something that requires self-discipline.
Prospecting.
Prospecting requires self-discipline. Yes, it sure does. What else requires self-discipline?
Exercising.
What'd you say, Eddie?
Exercising.
Exercising. Exercising requires a lot of self-discipline. Absolutely. What else requires self-discipline?
Sleeping early. Eating healthy.
Eating healthy. What'd you say, Elizabeth?
Maintaining a schedule.
Maintaining a schedule. Jack, I think, said getting up, going to sleep early, I think is what Jack said. Gustavo, start calling expires daily at 7:30. Yeah. All requires self-discipline. Sure. What else? What else requires self-discipline?
Practicing scripts.
Practicing scripts requires self-discipline. Okay. So here's the thing. Now be honest. Are all the things that just got mentioned, prospecting, exercising, eating healthy, going to bed early, waking up early, following a schedule, practicing, all that stuff, is it vitally important to your health in your business?
Yes.
Okay. Now let's be honest. Is it stuff that you really enjoy doing?
No.
No.
Straight out, no.
No, let's be honest here. Robert, let's be honest, okay? If it were up to me, it'd be lasagna, M&Ms, a liter of Coke followed down by some strawberry cheesecake on a daily basis. Yeah, there you go. Ray's got it. Ray's got it. Right? That's what it would be on a daily basis. It would be going to bed at 10:30. It'd be waking up at 9:30. Right? It would be all those things. And there is no way in hell you're ever going to see me on a treadmill or on the phone calling complete strangers going, would you like to sell your house? I would never. None of that would exist. None of that would exist if it were up to us. But all those, as we decided earlier, are vitally important to our business and our health, which is why self-discipline is so important, because you were all right. All of those things require self-discipline. So here's what I wrote down. A couple thoughts here. What is self-discipline? Self-discipline is the ability to do what you should be doing. Self-discipline is the ability to do what you should be doing. Self-discipline often means putting off your immediate comfort in favor of long-term success. So I'm going to read that one again. Self-discipline often means putting off your immediate comfort in favor of long-term success. Okay? So it's 12 o'clock at night. I'm kind of hungry. You know, there's some ice cream in the freezer. That's immediate comfort. Self-discipline and pushing that off for long-term success because you don't want to be 50 having a bypass. Okay? You know, it's things along those lines. So self-discipline means putting off immediate comfort, which is, you know, I kind of just want to lounge on my couch, maybe watch some Netflix. There's a bunch of shows I want to catch up on. That's immediate comfort. But instead of doing that, you're prospecting because it's more of long-term success. At that very moment, it's not going to be as fun, but long-term success. Right? So that would be an examples of self-discipline, putting off your immediate comfort in favor of long-term success. So I wrote down here, developing self-discipline does more than help you get ahead in your career. Here is what it's proven based on studies, scientific studies, These are things that self-discipline is proven to help people in. Number one is achieve long-term goals. One of the things self-discipline does, proven, is achieve long-term goals. Self-discipline allows people to resist immediate wants in support of higher impact long-term goals, just like we said. Okay. The second thing self-discipline helps out with is it decreases anxiety. I'm not going to ask anyone here because this is a serious thing, but have you ever, I'm going to ask the question, but I don't want anyone to raise their hand because, it could be a serious thing, but have you ever had anxiety? Have you ever had panic? Have you ever had those types of things? Well, self-discipline is proven to decrease that. When we're stressed, we each have our vices. Okay. So vices could be you procrastinate, you eat unhealthy, you do, negative things, so on and so forth. We experience negative emotions. Humans tend to distract themselves by doing or thinking about something else. Okay. So if you have self-discipline, it allows you to decrease that anxiety, that issue that you might come up with. There was a 2016 study that found that improving self-control actually helps students deal with anxiety-related problems during school testing. Okay, just having a little bit of self-control, self-discipline. Third thing is self-discipline increases physical health, which is kind of like some of the things that you all have mentioned, right? Now that's pretty obvious, but people who demonstrate regular self-discipline are better able to resist the use of health-damaging substances like tobacco, drugs, things along those lines. Self-control is also linked to lower rates of obesity and addiction. Because again, if it were up to us, everybody would be obese. That's just the truth. Nobody wakes up and goes, what I really want? If I had every option in the world, kale salad. Kale salad with grilled chicken, some non-fat vinaigrette dressing. If it were up to me, that's what I would have for lunch. Liar, liar, pants on fire. Okay, so everybody would be obese if we didn't have self-discipline. Therefore, self-discipline increases physical health. The fourth thing, there were 6 things that showed up here, and then we're going to talk about how to develop it. The fourth thing that self-discipline helps improve is it positively impacts relationships. Self-discipline can also make your relationships better. Again, another study says the capacity for self-control is a capacity for empathetic perspective taking, the ability to step outside of one's own point of view. You don't have to write that down. You can just kind of listen to that, right? The capacity for self-control is a capacity for empathetic perspective taking, the ability to step outside one's own point of view. Taking these steps allows us to override our automatic defense reaction and adopt more constructive behaviors, contributing to health, happier relationships. Okay, so having your own self-control, essentially self-control, self-discipline, means that when somebody tries to hold you accountable, when somebody gives you some sort of constructive criticism, you take it for what it is and either use it or politely disagree, as opposed to getting defensive, getting in fight mode, or getting angry. So it can positively impact your relationships, both in business and personal. The fifth thing is self-discipline can help you become more resilient. So the question you have to ask yourself is, do you bounce back easily after adversity? Self-discipline can be a predictor of resilience. The more resilient you are, the better control you have over impulses and delayed gratification. Okay. A resilient person has the belief in their own abilities to manage life's challenges and situations effectively. And the sixth thing that self-discipline has been proven to do is help you feel happier. The more productive you are, the more creative and happy you are. The more we feel in control of our behavior, the better sense of well-being we have, and that makes us happy. So these are all things that have been proven through various studies over long periods of time that if you develop self-discipline, will have a positive impact on you. Questions on anything we've covered so far? Okay, great. So now we're going to get into how do you develop more self-discipline. So here's what I'd like you to do. You don't have to shout this out, put it in the chat box, but I'm just curious for yourself. I mean, you can if you want to. Is write down on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the best, 1 being not the best. How would you rate yourself in regards to self-discipline? Now, for some of you, you might be thinking, well, on certain things, my self-discipline is a 10, and on other things, it's a 2. That's not the way it works. Nope, not the way it works. And here's why I say that, okay? I've said something before, and I don't say this to be mean, even though somebody, I guarantee, will leave this room as soon as I say this. Okay? You cannot be organized and professional at work and be a slob and destructive at home. It doesn't work. Okay? You are one person. There it is. I knew it. I knew it every time without fail. Without fail. We went from 37 to 36. Without fail. I knew it was going to happen. Without fail, I say that. Somebody leaves. All right. Oh, God. So you can't be, well, I'm self-disciplined at some things, but not self-disciplined in other things. No, no, no. You are one person. So you are either a 6 in self-discipline or a 10 in self-discipline or a 2 or a 1 as a whole with self-discipline. You don't get to pick and choose. Okay? That's not how self-discipline works. Some you might prioritize more than others, but it doesn't make it you're more self-disciplined in that activity. Right? Because if you do it that way, then you're allowing yourself to reward yourself, even though you're not very self-disciplined in a lot of other activities. So it's like saying, well, yeah, but I'm only a 2 in self-discipline here, but I'm an 8 in self-discipline here. So, so it all works out. No, no, no. It's not the way it goes. Okay. So you are what you are. So let's go into here. I've got 12 different thoughts on how do you develop more self-discipline? How do you be better in regards to self-discipline? Some of these are things you've probably heard before. Some of these will not relate to you whatsoever because maybe you already gone through some of these things. The point is maybe there's 1 or 2 of these that will make a difference. That's what we're going through here. So the first thing I wrote down here in order to develop self-discipline is know where you struggle. Know where you struggle. Okay. So one of the things that you could do is write down what you do in a day, then reflect on what you value and ask yourself whether your behaviors uphold those values. There are likely a few things you're doing each day that don't honor those values. So write down what you do every day, reflect on what your values are, and then ask yourself whether your behaviors are upholding your values. This is how you can identify where you're struggling. Okay. Ask for feedback. This is where you can then ask for feedback from coaches, colleagues, mentors, families, so on and so forth. And then see if there's overlap between how others see your actions and how you've self-identified your weaknesses. So let me give you an example, right, on this. You write down what you do every day and you say, well, one of my values is that in real estate terms is that I am always on schedule. I've created a schedule. I'm very organized. I'm very on schedule on what I'm doing. Okay. That's one of my value propositions. That's how I conduct myself. And then you write down what you're doing every day and you might find that, well, I'm not really on my schedule as much as I think I am. Or I'm not really doing the things that are in my schedule at the level I think I am. So you identify where you're struggling, and then once you've identified where you're struggling, put together a plan of attack. So an example could be, one of my weaknesses is to procrastinate calling prospect until it's too late in the day. This puts me behind the rest of the week and makes it tough to meet quota. So tomorrow I'm going to make X number of calls first thing when I get in the office. So you need a plan. You need to identify where you struggle and then create a plan to work on that. That's number one in terms of developing more self-discipline. Because here's the thing, if you don't know where you're struggling, can you improve on what you're struggling? That's a really hard task to do. Anyone here ever besides me think that they have something figured out and then when they really break it down, they didn't? Yeah, a couple. So there's 3 of us and 33 liars. We're all guilty of it, whether it could be whatever the case may be. I've shared this story a number of times, right? Sitting down with Neil and Mike one day, and Neil says, hey, look, we really got to get, this was, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago. We really got to get some more recruiting. Neil, I don't have time for more recruiting. I'm coaching, 40, at this time I was coaching 46 people or something. I'm coaching 46 people. I'm doing this and this. I just don't have time. So Neil and Mike, in their most nicest way possible, well, Neil in his most nicest way possible, Mike, sit me down and, all right, Robert, let's figure this out. So you're coaching 46 people, and each coaching call is 20 to 30 minutes. Okay, yeah. So it's 23 hours a week in coaching. And okay, and then how many hours of role play and sales meetings are you doing? At the time, it might have been like 5 or 6. Okay, great. So you're at 28, 29 hours. Yeah. And then you're probably doing some, at the time I wasn't running everything else for the company. So, I wasn't doing all the other stuff. So like, okay, so you're roughly at about 30 hours a week. Yeah. Well, if you're working 40, what are you doing with the other 10? Oh, okay. So don't tell me that you don't have time to recruit. You just got to prioritize some things. Happens to all of us. All right. The second thing I wrote down here is know how you succeed. Know how you succeed. Okay. It's important to be honest about your work patterns. So for example, if your mornings are consumed by non-work related events, but that's also when you're most productive, that's not good. So you need to know when you do your best work and schedule around it. So let me give you an example. If you know that your highest amount of focus and highest amount of energy and highest amount of discipline is between 8 to 12 in the morning, then you need to schedule coworker breaks, family breaks, all those other different things around that, before 8 or after 12. But you need to know how you succeed, what day you're more successful, what time you're more successful, what activities you're more successful with. Otherwise, you're just blindly going into every day. We have this conversation sometimes, right? Of, well, Robert, I just feel like I'm not getting much out of my prospecting. Well, when are you prospecting? Well, I'm prospecting from 10 to 12. Try prospecting from 8 to 10. Maybe by 10 o'clock, you've lost your focus. You've lost your energy. Try prospecting more in the morning. Robert, I'm doing this afternoon prospecting. Is it going well? It's going great. Okay, great. So instead of 1 hour in the afternoon, why don't you do 2? Why don't you do 3? I'm terrible on the phones, but I'm great at the doors. Okay, then get off the phone. Go to the door. I'm terrified when I go to the door. Go to the phone. But if you don't know how you succeed, then how can you be disciplined in doing the activities needed to succeed? So, but you need to be honest with yourself, which is the hardest part. Okay. You need to be honest with yourself, which is the hardest part, just what I talked about earlier with expireds. That's why I brought up yesterday. I wasn't trying to be mean, and I'm going to get off this subject because I know you guys get pissed at me when I keep bringing this up. But when Neil asked the question, who thinks expireds are a positive experience? And all these people are putting 1 in the chat box. I'm like, yeah, we don't close any. But yet people go, oh, it's positive. I'm going to keep calling. Okay. We have track records of closing, absentee owners, just listed, just sold, open houses. We don't have hardly any track record of expires, but people just hammer away. You need to know how you succeed and how you don't succeed, and then build time around that. Number 3, identify and write down clear goals. This might be the biggest in terms of self-discipline. Identify and write down clear goals. So there was a study that came down that said you're 42% more likely to achieve your goals if you write them down, which I actually thought was going to be higher, but 42% chance more likely to achieve your goals if you write them down. The act of writing down your goals forces you to visualize the goal itself, how to achieve it, and what steps you need to take to get there. Identify and write down your goals. So what I also wrote down is goals change. So you need to constantly be looking at your goals and update them accordingly. So in regards to self-discipline, why is having goals so important? Anybody want to take a guess at that? Chime in on that.
Sorry, what was the question again, Robert?
In terms of self-discipline, why is having goals so important?
You could track your process.
Could track your process, yes. What else?
You have a roadmap and you know where you're going.
You have a road, right? Right. What else? There's one other reason. You're both right. There's a couple reasons. There's one more. Let me share this with you. It's a quote that I've used a number of times before. If you don't know what you're going to exchange the money for, you're not going to do the work. If you don't know what you're going to exchange the money for, you're not going to do the work. Denise, Elizabeth, you're also right. Okay. You have a roadmap. Okay. You can track your progress, all those other different things. So you need to have the goals. Now, when I say, if you don't know what you're going to exchange the money for, you're not going to do the work. What do I mean in real estate? What won't you do?
Prospect.
You won't prospect. There it is. If you don't know what you're going to exchange the money for, you won't do the work because prospecting sucks. Just a fact. So if you don't have goals and you don't have clear goals and you don't constantly look at your goals and you don't constantly update your goals, then you're not going to do the work, and therefore you have no discipline to do the things you need to do, like prospecting, previewing, practicing, all those other different things. I mean, if you don't have a goal, what's the point of having discipline? Because then you're just doing the work just to do it, which makes no sense. Well, I want to lose 20 pounds. Why? I don't know. Okay. Let me give you an example. Let me share a story with you. When I was 20 years old, I was overweight. Okay. For those of you that know me, I'm only 5'9". I'm not a tall guy. And when I was 20, I got just out of control and I got up to, it was 5'9", I was 220. Okay. Now I've always been somewhat having some sort of build to me, but a lot of it was just too much. It's just a lot of fat. True story. And I looked in the mirror one day and I noticed that I had some stretch marks on the side. And I decided right then and there, I was going to lose the weight. Now, the question was, why? Because if you don't have a goal, you're not going to do the work. If I don't have a goal, I'm not going to lose the weight. Does anyone want to guess why I needed to lose the weight in my mind? Anybody want to take a guess? You're going to laugh when you find out. Anybody want to take a shot at it?
You didn't want to see those stretch marks.
I didn't want to see the stretch marks. Yeah, but that wasn't the real defining factor.
You want to fit back into your suit, three-piece suit.
I wanted to fit back into. At 20 years old, Jack, I didn't have a three-piece suit. I wasn't cool enough then.
Get a date.
There it is. That's the truth. I was about to turn 21, and I thought to myself, there is no way I'm going to be able to get any girl at a bar or club looking like this. That is a God-honest, true story. And that was the goal. And because of that, I lost it. I lost it. And I went out, and I lost weight, and I did all these things, and I got my regimen back going. And obviously things worked out for me in that particular area as time went on. But then once it happened, I was like, I'm never going back to that ever again. But that's the truth. But if I didn't have that goal, as shallow as it is, as shallow as the goal as it is, if I didn't have it, I was not going to lose the weight. So you need to have a clear goal. All right, number 4, visualize your outcome. Visualize your outcome. All right. So here's a really interesting study. Your brain doesn't differentiate between real and imagined memories. So when you imagine something vividly, your brain chemistry changes as if you'd actually experienced it. So visualizing positive outcomes, like when I make it to the top of our activity board, I'm going to treat myself to an excellent dinner. When I accomplish this, blah, 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 blah. It gives you the positive feelings associated with ascending to that target while reducing your feelings of insecurity. This then makes it easier for you to overcome feelings of fear and then take the steps towards achieving your goals. So you have to visualize the outcome, right? For any of you that have ever seen the video or movie, The Secret, that's what that's all about, right? It's visualizing this. Tony Robbins talks about this all the time, visualizing it, vision boards. Act as if you've already accomplished it, because your brain can't differentiate the two different things. So you have to visualize your outcome and talk as if you'd already accomplished it. Okay, will help you create that self-discipline, because you make it feel like you're accomplishing something. Okay. Number 5, don't wait for it to feel right. You want to help yourself with self-discipline. Don't wait for it to feel right. Write this down. There will never be the perfect time to do anything. Anything in life. There will never be the perfect time. The stars have aligned, the mood is perfect, this and this. Never. If you wait for your schedule to be perfect, your desk to be clutter-free, your inbox to reach a manageable level, you might never get started on the work that needs to be done. Embrace every moment as having just what you need to do your best work, because it does. So in order to create self-discipline, accept the fact that it's never going to be perfect. Okay. I know the scripts, Robert, but I feel like I want to keep working on them a little bit more. Okay, great. Well, let's also make some phone calls. I'm previewing property, but I'm not gonna start prospecting the area until I've previewed 100 homes. Well, while I'm excited that you're previewing property, why don't you start doing it after 2, 3, 4, 5 homes? It's never going to be perfect. Okay. Just go for it. Otherwise you create too much tightness, and then the discipline falls off. Just go for it. Don't wait for it to feel right. Don't wait for it to be perfect. It's one of the main issues people have with discipline, is they keep waiting and waiting and waiting. Stop doing that. All right. Number 6, this is a biggie. Number 6, you need to highlight, put a star next to whatever you need to do. Start small. Start small. Okay. Overhauling all your habits at once is a recipe for burnout and disaster. So instead, pick a few small habits to focus on each week. Pick one a week. So here's the thing. You want to increase your discipline. You want to add some habits. You want to decrease some habits. So imagine this. If you worked on one thing a week to increase your self-discipline on, or get rid of a problem with your discipline, one thing a week, you would work on 40 to 50 things a year. If you just did one thing a week, You could work on 40, 50 things a year. And if it takes you 2, 3, 4 weeks on one particular thing, then so be it. But if you try to work on 6 things, it'll take you 6 years, maybe more. One at a time. Start small. You can't solve the self-discipline problem on everything at once. Start small. One thing. Focus on this. How do I get better self-discipline on this? Great. How do I create the habit on this? How do I get rid of this habit? One thing a week. Okay. And then it's the snowball effect. It's the snowball effect. So they talk about this in finance, the snowball effect. You have 10 bills to pay off. One is ranging from $1,000 to $100,000. They tell you in finance, don't start paying off the $100,000 one because it's going to take you so long and you're going to get discouraged. Pay the $1,000 one off. So you pay the $1,000 one off. So you make extra payments, right? Extra payments, pay the $1,000. And then you start working on the $5,000 one and you make extra payments on the $5,000 one. And that now the ball gets rolling, and then you focus on the $15,000 one. And now the snowball effect, it's rolling, it's getting bigger. Now the system's in play, you're starting to pay things off. It's the same thing with developing habits. You start with the one. Okay, I got this one. Now I'm adding a second one, and now I've got that one. Now I'm adding a third. It's a snowball effect. But a snowball doesn't start big, and then as it goes downhill, it gets smaller. That doesn't work. You got to start small and get bigger from there. Number 7, if you need to or you want to, is get a mentor. You know, if self-discipline is a major thing, or if you're newer in real estate or you're newer in anything along those lines, find someone that you can mentor with, colleague or anything like that, to help you throughout this type of stuff. Right? That's always a positive thing. Number 8, practice, fail, start over. Practice, fail, start over, practice, fail, start over. It's not that those with self-discipline never have days where they eat all the donuts in the kitchen, right? Spend 45 minutes on social media, lose a couple of prospects, all before 10 a.m. It's that they do these things, then they wake up the next morning and try to make better decisions. Self-discipline is the act of trying, failing, and trying again. Okay? Everybody who you would think has the greatest self-discipline in the world. Let me tell you something. I know the guy who was the best man at my wedding is a professional football player. This dude is fit and he is jacked. Okay. And yet I'll go over and be like, all right, man, let's go to the movies. All right. But before we go to the movies, we got to go to Wiener Schnitzel. Loves Wiener Schnitzel. Okay. Guy's got $50 million in the bank. Loves Wiener Schnitzel. And we'll go to Wiener Schnitzel and he'll get like 6 chili cheese dogs and some fries and just down them. And then we'll go to the movies and he'll get, the popcorn, the large soda. And then after the movie's like, oh, we got to go hit up the ice cream spot. I'm sitting here ready to throw up. Okay. Just thinking like, what are we doing? This guy plays professional football. He's one of the most disciplined people there is. But even he's got the cheat days. Even he has the days where he's got the guilty pleasures. Nobody's perfect. But the next day, he's not going to do that the next day. He's going to be training. He's going to be figuring it out. Try, fail, try again. Try, fail, try again. You're not going to figure this all out immediately. But you have to keep going. You can't get frustrated. Number 9, know how you'll measure progress. Know how you'll measure progress. So here's a great line. If you don't know how you'll track progress, it will be difficult to know whether you're succeeding. So if your goal is to set more appointments this month, start by identifying how many appointments do you want to set. Then work backwards to figure out how many appointments you'll need each week, how long it will take to finalize one. And then once you've determined the details of your goal, decide what success looks like. Are you simply shooting for the number? Will it count if a meeting cancels at the last minute? Should the meeting lead to a demo? What does success look like so you know how to measure it? See, this goes again to the goals. If you don't know how to measure the success, you're not going to have any self-discipline because you're just, again, going through the motions. There has to be a trackable system. There has to be a measure for success. Otherwise, there's no discipline to it. You won't do it. See, you're noticing here, and there's just a couple more points. You're noticing here with self-discipline, you really have to identify things. Self-discipline doesn't work if you're vague. If I want to lose weight, I want to set more appointments, I want to make more money, the discipline won't be there. It's got to be specific. You have to have specific numbers, data, a specific plan, something trackable. That's the only way to develop the discipline. All right, 3 more points here as we wrap up. We only got a couple minutes left before 1 o'clock. Number 10, take care of yourself. Self-discipline is worth very little if you're killing yourself to achieve it. So anyone here ever worked a 12 or 14-hour day before? Yeah, be honest. Sure.
I did.
Can you do that every day?
Nope.
Nope. Everyone works the occasional 12-hour day, 14-hour day. But if you're doing that for weeks or months on end to be more self-disciplined, you've missed the point. Part of self-discipline is taking care of yourself, breaks throughout the day, healthy diet, plenty of sleep, healthy relationships, so on and so forth. Okay. In fact, there's been, again, studies show that mindfulness exercises like taking a short walk, noticing 5 things around you, or identifying 2 smells can actually increase productivity in the workplace. It's essentially being in the here and now. But sometimes people take self-discipline as, well, I'm a disciplined worker. I'm working all day, every day, 12, 14 hours a day. That's discipline. Not really, because you're not taking care of yourself. And again, remember what I said earlier, you can't be self-disciplined, an 8 here and then a 2 here. No. Self-discipline, you are one being. So if you think you're a 10 on self-discipline because you're working 12 to 14 hours a day, you're really going to be a 1 on self-discipline on taking care of yourself, which means you're not as self-disciplined as you think you are. Everything goes hand in hand. Plus, the reality is, if you're working 12 to 14-hour days on a regular basis, is it fair to assume that you have a scheduling problem? Everybody say yes.
Yes.
Great. All right, number 11, last 2. Number 11, treat yourself. If you want good habits to stick, if you want discipline to stick, reward yourself. Reward yourself. Not just with the money you're going to make for doing the activity, but give yourself something, right? Give yourself a prize, a gift, things along those lines. I did this. We have one of our agents she's a younger gal, and she accomplished her goal. And I said, well, what are you going to go buy? She goes, what do you mean? I said, well, you accomplished. She goes, you got to go buy something. You can't just do that. So she goes, okay. So she tells me the story the next week. She just recently bought a home with her fiance. She comes home one day and she's got like 8 different bags of stuff. And her fiance goes, what is all that? She said, Robert told me to do it. so I'm now the root of all the cause problems, things like that. So, but you got to reward yourself with gifts and things along those lines if you're going to do the work. Otherwise, you lose the meaning, you lose the excitement of it. Treat yourself, right? Treat yourself to something nice, whatever nice is for you, a dinner, shoes, handbags, whatever the case may be, right? Then it'll help you feel energized, restored, and never deprived. And then the last one here, number 12, is right up on 1 o'clock, is on the opposite of treat yourself, is you have to forgive yourself. Okay. Just as importantly, you have to forgive yourself when you slip. Okay. Failing is inevitable. What's important is that you move on. So the problem with self-discipline is that we don't forgive ourselves. So then we get back into our negative habits, our negative mindset, and then we go out and do something else instead of the activities that we need to accomplish what we want, because we don't forgive ourselves for being human beings. Okay. So you have to be able to forgive yourself and accept the fact that You're a human being. Slip-ups are going to happen. Mistakes are going to happen. Failures are going to happen. Now, if you're failing all the time, if slip-ups are happening all the time, that's a different story. But sometimes it's just going to happen. It is what it is, right? So don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. All right, questions on anything we went over today? I kind of rushed through the last few because we were running up on time. Okay, very good. Very good, very good. All right, well, hopefully there was one or two things that were helpful, impactful for you on that in regards to self-discipline. Again, pick one or two things that you need help with, that you can get more self-disciplined on. Work on those things. Again, work on one thing a week. And it makes a big difference over time.